Hello, I'm Kerry White, Director of the Total Quality Program for PBS's Broadcast Services. For the next several minutes, I want to share with you a training tape that was written and produced single-handedly by Bill Fast, Audio Director for KCTS Seattle. The program, elegantly simple in execution, explains how to use an XY display in audio monitoring. So without further ado, let's take a look at the tape.
In the next few minutes, you'll see a demonstration of the various ways to monitor audio using an XY display. Coupled with peak and/or VU metering, the XY display is a powerful tool, provides a great deal of visual information to the audio operator and producer. Since we deal in a visual medium, many people find that this monitor system takes some of the mystery out of audio quality control. There will never be a replacement for a good set of ears, but it's to your benefit if you can let your eyes help you hear. Some may disagree with this philosophy. I'll let you be the judge. First, some basics. The XY display should be connected to the output of your audio console or a routing switcher output so that you can easily monitor any source, whether that be a playback machine or record machine. The left channel of audio feeds the vertical or Y input, and the right channel of audio feeds the horizontal or X input. When the same signal is present at each input at equal levels and in phase with each other, we call that mono, or left plus right, a broadcast term commonly used. The display makes a straight line diagonally across the screen like this. Any difference in level between channels will cause the display to rotate toward the left or toward the right. Already you can see that you have a very accurate tool for setting left-right balance. Never again will you have to ask yourself if the narration really is in the middle of the mix. You can see it. More on this later. The scope you see here is a Tektronix Model 602. It's often found in video and television facilities and can be had on the used market for as little as $250. It's a very high-quality piece of equipment and cheaper, actually, used than the dedicated XY displays you may have seen in broadcast magazines or catalogs. Remember, however, that almost any oscilloscope with a B or X, that's a horizontal input, will work as long as the X input isn't delayed or has some different input attenuation scheme. Now, let's look at some audio. You now know what balanced mono speech looks like. If one channel is out of phase, caused by a polarity inversion in wiring or machinery, the display looks like this. Each channel is out of phase 180 degrees with each other. In a good listening environment, my voice will no longer appear to come from the middle of the two speakers. But in some cases, noisy environments, bad speaker placement, bad positioning between the speakers, you might miss this flow. This is disaster, since when these two channels of audio are summed together in a home receiver, they cancel each other, and this audio disappears. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Imagine your narration or stand-up talent suddenly disappearing from the mix as you sit at home watching your television. Pretty scary, huh? Back to normal. Here are a couple of examples of stereo audio. This is a well-balanced, well-imaged stereo recording. Not too wide and not too narrow. It has good mono compatibility. The next is an example of a narrow stereo image. It still has good mono compatibility, since most of the information is L plus R. There is very little L minus R information. L minus R is audio information that is not common to both channels, thus giving the stereo image its perceived width. Here's an example of a very wide stereo image, one with less than average L plus R content. This recording is not very mono-compatible due to the phase cancellation that occurs when the two channels are combined. This recording was probably made with two spaced omnidirectional microphones. Great for selling living room hi-fi speakers, not so great for broadcast. Note, another function of the XY display, you can, with practice, determine how a recording was mic'd. Pretty nifty, huh? Let's say the mix is finished, but somehow the polarity has been reversed on the music track. This is what it sounds like in stereo.
Whether it's dudes in Wyoming, sheep in Nevada, or cattle in New Mexico or Hawaii, ranching today is a living, breathing legacy of a century of dust and sweat. There's no other character in American history as firmly fixed in our imagination as the cowboy. Today, he's just as likely to wear a baseball cap as a Stetson and might spend more time in a pickup truck than on a horse. But our strong belief in doing what's right, helping your neighbor, and keeping your word are all rooted in the code of the West. Ranchers today are preserving that way of life, as well as producing a product that helps to feed us all.
And this is what it sounds like in mono.
Whether it's dudes in Wyoming, sheep in Nevada, or cattle in New Mexico or Hawaii, ranching today is a living, breathing legacy of a century of dust and sweat. There's no other character in American history as firmly fixed in our imagination as the cowboy. Today, he's just as likely to wear a baseball cap as a Stetson and might spend more time in a pickup truck than on a horse. But our strong belief in doing what's right, helping your neighbor, and keeping your word are all rooted in the code of the West. Ranchers today are preserving that way of life, as well as producing a product that helps to feed us all.
We've actually received several completed shows from some unnamed PBS station that were mixed this way. As I mentioned earlier, an XY display is useful for monitoring left-right balance. This is just one of several test functions you can see quickly on the scope. Balance or positioning. In a multi-mic or multi-track mix, you can pan a source to, say, 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock in a very accurate, repeatable manner. Peak metering. This is a 0 VU tone at 1 kilohertz. Note that properly modulated program levels indicate peaks well above the 0 level. The scope acts as a very fast peak reading meter that will help you determine proper record levels for sources that contain excessive peak information. Even though the VU meter says -10, you'd better not record a tambourine any louder or you'll saturate even the best audio tape. Videotape is even more prone to high-frequency saturation. Tape machine azimuth and playback EQ. A 10K tone from a test tape should look like this. Not like this. If it looks like this, your tape machine needs help. This is what you might see if your tape machine had a playback EQ problem. By monitoring the console output versus the record machine's output, alignment problems can be quickly isolated. Other monitoring functions include distortion, which you'll probably hear before you see, nonlinear limiting between left and right channels, and excessive subharmonic information or turntable rumble. You can even use a scope to tune musical instruments, such as synthesizers, to each other by matching the beat patterns that you see on the screen. With practice, you'll understand absolute phase and use it to maximize your transmitter's modulation and help you analyze microphone wiring and placement problems. This has been a very brief look at a piece of audio equipment no broadcaster should be without. There's nothing new about this system. Record mastering engineers and some recording engineers have been using XY scopes for years to analyze and correct stereo imaging. It's easy, it's cheap, and it's fun. I'll leave you with a piece of music so you can enjoy some of the sounds that you can see.
I think you'll agree that this tape, produced by Bill Fast at KCTS, will be of use to many of us concerned with training technical personnel. I would like to thank Bill for allowing me to share this with you today. If you have produced training material and can loan us a 1-inch, 3/4 inch, or M2 copy, I would be happy to feed it to the rest of the system so that everyone can benefit. Please send these videotapes to me, Kerry White, PBS, 1320 Braddock Place, Alexandria, Virginia 22314. If you have any questions, please give me a call at 703-739-5203. Thank you.